Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and please enjoy my chat with Ali Clem from Law Barbecue in Austin, Texas. We can kind of just start because there's a lot of things to cover. First off, I want to say there's two things I want to say. I want to say that people they probably don't know that we have a connection that we did work together. I think that's something that a lot of people don't know. And also too, I just want to say how so sorry I am that Leanne passed. And she was
Thank you.
it's hard to imagine that she's gone because she was such a force of nature. She was larger than life, really.
She really was, and she made that very apparent, as we all know, as her entire family did.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to spend like 8 or 9 months with you guys, and
hmm
you guys were I mentioned a couple times in my text to you and stuff. It's you guys were the reason I stayed as long as I did, and you guys made me feel comfortable and safe and welcomed. It
Well,
was
well, shit, Kevin, you lived in John's house, which is crazy. I literally was telling this story. I was like, oh my God, I haven't thought about this in a long time, probably for a lot of reasons. But the fact that you lived and worked with John, I mean, I don't know how you did it for as long as you did. I'm not going to lie.
and that's probably one of the reasons why, because I've been thinking a lot of why I hadn't reached out to you and why I hadn't reached out to you and Leanne during these years. And it was because it would bring up those demons in my head that I had kind of buried of that time with John. And I don't talk about
Oh,
that
yeah.
at all on online or anything because number one, it's it is what it is. It's and uh, you
Oh, for
know,
sure.
but it's such a it's a weird rabbit hole to go down in my head because it was hard. It was really
Oh, yeah.
he's yeah, he was a very tortured individual and I
I think
spent
that's fair. I think that's public knowledge, honestly. I mean, a lot of the things that, we'll talk about, I know is very public knowledge. And so I know that I'm not going against like what the family would want me to say.
yeah,
I mean, the fact that he was a heavy whiskey drinker or, the fact that he drank Bud Light like he should have water,
yeah,
was like, I mean, people would bring him whiskey and Bud Light, knowing that that's what he liked, and they thought that they were doing him a favor. And all in all, it's just like
enabling.
if you look back at it, it's just not what really. But that's just who that they wanted to be friends with him and they wanted to support him, and then that's how they thought that they would support him is through bringing him things that he liked, and that's fair, and I get that. But I mean, I tell the story about how I started working there, and I laugh every single time. And I was working at a bar downtown, and I'd get off around 3 a.m. And John called me and he was like, I don't have any onions. Can you bring me some onions? I'm cooking, we open. I think we opened at like 10 a.m. back then.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I guess I went and got onions and I got there and you were his only employee. And I looked around, I was like, oh my God, this is fucked up. And you were like, how do you cut onions? I was like, Kevin. I was like, John, John.
Well,
I
he
was
was.
like,
Okay, go on, yeah, please, because this is hilarious. So please come on, because it's so
and
funny too, the different sides how he, uh,
I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, all right. I've worked in restaurants for a long, long time. And I was like, let me go home, take a nap. I'll be back at 8. And that'll give 2 hours, you know, to get your stuff done. And I can definitely knock out a bunch of prep in 2 hours to hopefully get open at 10:30. I mean, 11's not bad, right?
uh,
And so I came back and literally that's how I started working for John.
thank God, thank God that happened. Like it was because I had first met you at that bar. I think John and I had come there. Not surprisingly, I went to a bar with John,
Of
and
course.
and we yeah. So that's the first time I met you. But then when I think he had called you or said you were coming in, my heart felt better because I had never worked at a restaurant. I was completely green, and it wasn't like he was the type of person to train somebody.
No,
That wasn't in his nature, and it was
no.
there were stories that he had told about his father what the first day that he had the restaurant Louis Miller to himself, his father said it was like a Friday or something, and just said, "I'm going," and just left, and he had to handle everything on his own. So he kind of had that in his mind that that's how you do it. You kind of set someone on fire and say, "Let's go." And so I had no experience at all. I never even knew how to cut a brisket. I didn't, because I was from California. We didn't have that culture, and that culture
Right.
didn't exist for years after that. Like it still took a lot of time. So thank God you came. Did Leanne work that day too? I think she did help that day,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I
She
think so.
absolutely did work that day. I think I literally blocked that day out probably because it was a complete shit show.
So bad.
There were there were so many people there because they were so ready for John to get back up and going, and like this is his redemption
Mhm.
song. And I remember trying his brisket for the first time, going, "Oh my God, like this is so fucking good."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is so good." I was like, and then like my heart was in it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I was like, "This, he's not just this shit talking human that
Yeah, no, it's valid because
yeah, I was
he
like,
talked a big
wow,
game and he was
I
always
know. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, like
Uh-huh.
whatever. And he made fun of me so much, which, just being the sports kind of guy that he is and the sports kind of gal that I am, like I like was used to that, like, just like that razzing, whatever else. And
And
honestly, that's just how he taught me how to do what I did is just talking shit to me constantly. I mean, I looked at him as like a coach,
yeah, and he felt that
and
way, and
that's
that's
just,
good
of
because he was
course.
and he dressed like an athlete or like an ex-athlete. Yeah, like the way
I
everything
know.
going.
In his Under Armour and his all black.
Yeah,
I was like, I wore my tracksuit today in honor of
nice.
John Miller, doing
It's
coach.
there's so many memories. Like when I number one when I tell someone that I work with John Miller, they don't believe me or they can't imagine it, and because he's become even more mythical,
Mhm.
but also like more tortured and more like dented. But it by time. But it's such a weird. And it's weird too. Like I think back and I think that if I wasn't getting a divorce, and I met Leanne before you, I met
That's what she
her.
was saying. You and your wife at the time
Yeah, Michelle.
were at a
Yeah.
bar in Ventura, and you met her and her wife Emily at the time at a
Yes.
bar, and
Then we went
then
back
you
to her house.
yeah, of course, and truly in fashion.
Yeah.
She's just like, cool, let's come back and have more drinks
It
because the party never
never
stops.
stops. No, we went back and got so trashed and then I saw a lot of her artwork and I saw her
Oh, yeah.
design sense
Hmm.
and and then John was kind of like bombarding me on Twitter because Twitter was just starting and he sent me a brisket and I cut it and just destroyed it and he made fun of me online forever for that and but I was like in my mind I'm a writer like not a necessarily successful writer but I thought this was an interesting adventure as my marriage was collapsing I thought this would be and he said hey can you come out and help me open this trailer I didn't realize I'd be his personal chauffeur because he wasn't legally allowed to drive. And
No, for many, many years. I mean,
I should have known the first
respectfully, too.
yes. Yeah, exactly. No, it makes sense that he shouldn't be driving. He needs a driver, and he's the kind of person that would want to have a driver. But I should have known because I'm like a huggy kind of person. I got off the plane and I hugged him, and I felt
Stop it.
this like his
Stop it.
body. I felt his body like turn into stone. And I like, what the fuck have I got myself into? And what is wrong with me?
Oh,
It just,
oh my God, you hugged him.
how bad is how that's I can't believe I'm admitting that, but this is cathartic. I'm assuming in some way. We went
Holy
straight to
shit.
went straight to some bar that's like Horseshoe or some kind of bar in Austin, I think. I don't know. Went straight to a bar.
If it was Horseshoe, that actually makes sense because Dixie used to work there and he really liked Dixie.
Yeah.
It's gone now. It's something else called Golden Goose, but
Oh, okay.
he liked those little dive bars,
Love them.
But yeah, and he made friends, and you know, he was important there, and
Yeah.
surrounded by the people that loved to do what he loved to do on his off time, and
Yeah.
which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No.
he made some great connections, and those people truly did love him.
Yeah.
And it's that was good for him. That was I think probably kept him more grounded, oddly,
Yeah.
than what it should have. But I just damn it, John.
I
He's
know.
such a dick.
Such a dick. And he had with so much potential like that. That's like
Yeah.
one of the things too, is he was such a great cook. And I'd ask him too, how do you cook your briskets? Because I wanted to learn. And he'd say,
Hmm.
I talked to him. I listened and I talked to him. And obviously he did more than that, but and he would do, like we'd prep and then he'd say, fuck off, Kevin. Like he'd just say go, and I'd leave and I'd walk around, maybe go to Kirby Lane. Like I'd go just this walk Austin, and then I come back, set up the tables, and you guys would come in, and it would be like mayhem. And his thing was he really, really, really wanted to rush people through, and I get that because he's like they have
Hmm.
this finite amount of time for their lunch, and so
Right.
like I've heard from other people at restaurants, they'll slow things up, or if there's not enough tables, or they'll, the cutter controls kind of the. But I'm glad I never really during those rushes never cut because I didn't know how. I didn't know how, and I didn't know, and we didn't like. I remember him grab like I don't even know if we wore
Well, that was
gloves.
my job, remember?
Yeah, yes, and also too like what was it like? Because I remember just being a chicken with my head cut off almost every day, and I had like I was nervous every day because I was like didn't want to fuck things up, and it was
Well, look,
crazy.
I mean, I learned how to cut a brisket from John by him literally sitting over my left shoulder talking shit to me the entire time. Like, I mean, I think he showed me once, honestly, and then I just watched him,
Yeah.
and I did sides. Actually, Leanne did sides. That was like her pride and joy. That was like her glory days, her brother cutting and her doing sides. And I did the register and you did the register. And we had to serve those damn hot sauces from the back, that we call it Bobby sauce now. We put it in our chopped beef, but
Oh,
it was like literally like, I mean, 2 ounce styrofoam containers, no, 4 ounce styrofoam containers, like literally portioned and laid out on that back end. And we had to like put it on everybody's tray. And I honestly think that that is so crazy. I think that that is wild that, I mean, that was our only sauce. But honestly, I think it's also brilliant. And I wish like we wouldn't have gone into this, I guess, I don't know. You know how everybody has sauces on the table.
hmm.
It's just that it's just the norm. And, they didn't have that normal barbecue sauce and they stuck by it.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good. And I made it a few times, of course, but it was just like, I feel like it was different every time because he would come in and be like, this isn't right.
Hmm.
And then he would add something stupid to it that I've never even seen before in my life every single time. And it was different every time. And I feel like he was trolling me, but which he
Probably.
probably was. Were you there the day that we had a line? I mean, literally to the edge of the lot. It was probably around 2 o'clock, I think. He's over there on my left shoulder once again, just talking shit, talking shit. And he said something. I won't repeat it because, I mean, but I literally slammed the knife down. I looked at him. I said, fuck you, John. I said, you cut your own tough ass briskets. My hand hurts. And I walked out the back door. I got on my phone. I called Leanne. And this is right after she had bought, the trailer or whatever. And I was like, I quit. I quit. I can't do this. Like my blood pressure. I mean, like my face is getting red just thinking about it. I mean,
Uh,
my blood pressure had raised and I could not take it anymore. I think it was a Friday. I knew I had 2 more days. Like I just had enough. And everyone in line stopped and we're screaming at each other as I'm walking down South First Street going, fuck you, John. He's like, Allie, but I love you. I was like, you only love yourself. Fuck you. And like literally as I'm on the phone with Leanne and he's laughing, which it's not funny, but he knew how to bring that out of you. Of course, I came back because I mean, I'm still
yeah.
here, but it's just,
I don't
but
think I was there.
that's,
I don't remember that at all.
but damn, I mean, he literally knew how to press you to the
Hmm.
edge. And, but all in all, it really prepares you for so much down the line.
Hmm.
Is how, I mean, I'm in therapy every Monday.
I'm in therapy too.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's just kind of like, how do things prepare you for where you are now?
Mhm.
And, a lot of that tough love from both of them really, really has made me where I am at this point where I push myself and, I'm constantly striving to be better and be more and make sure that this place is as best as possible. And I mean, because honestly, I'm the only one left,
Yeah.
to carry on this. I mean, Wayne has Louis Miller's, but, I learned from John and Leanne, and, it's like I have to keep that legacy going, but also make it mine and make them, this lineage proud.
It's an
And
interesting balance.
those days were nuts, and it
It,
was,
those are early days. No one else like, and it's funny because there's so many barbecue joints now. There's so many this style, but like
mhm,
that was pioneering time. There was Aaron and there
mhm.
was him. I don't like it was just
I mean, there's also Coopers and
oh yeah, yeah.
Ironworks,
No, no,
and
that kind.
I mean, there's all of these staples, that have been here for years and years.
Yeah.
There's also, Salt Lick, and then County Line, that have been here for a long time. And
And Bill
but
Miller's
John,
and
right, Bill Miller's. I mean, but John came from this lineage, and and Leanne too, where it was like this craft barbecue.
yeah.
And not that I'm saying that everybody else's is not, because I mean, I have respect for absolutely everybody in this barbecue
Oh yeah.
community
So do I.
because it is hard. I
It is
mean,
really hard. It's
uh, I mean, it is incredibly hard for everything. It's incredibly hard to make money when like the beef prices fluctuate so much. Even the pork prices, and I mean, our turkey is like one of the most expensive ones we have, but we can't charge so much for it, because it's just turkey, and people are like, "Wait, what?" So, which I get it.
when you sent me that photo of the prices back then, and
I
that was
know,
that's wild. It's
I know,
hard.
8.99 a half pound. I was like, "Holy crap!" There's no way in hell. I mean,
Ugh.
I don't. I mean, what we pay now, of course, we've really kind of educated ourselves and like, different kinds of meat and the value of, an all natural product, to the fact where, back in the day we were using, and John used, I, I mean, like the bottom of the barrel,
Hmm.
you know, but it was still really good. But I also laughed because he got his sausage made for him, and he also got his briskets trimmed for him, and which is crazy to me.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Because there was very little trim. He was
No,
seasoned. It was just all seasoned. It was all yeah. Oh,
yes,
interesting.
yeah.
I never thought I'd block that out. Yes,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
no, no. He didn't. In fact, I think he only had to trim his briskets a couple times. And I sat and I watched him, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I'm watching you." And he's like, "Well, we're not going to have to do this, so I don't know why you're watching." And I was like, "Well, because I want to learn." And he was like, "Oh, you want to learn?" He's like, "What do you think you are, a miller?" And I was like, "Well, no, thank God." And this is before, I married Leanne. And it's just kind of like, I was like, dude, like, I
Well,
mean,
well,
I want to help.
but everyone thought he made his own sausage too. It was his own
No,
recipe, he said, but it
it
was,
wasn't, Kevin.
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. That's what he told people. I never told anybody. That's the first time I think anybody even knows that it was, we picked it up over in Taylor, right? It wasn't like the Taylor, well, until he lost credit with them, but
Well, he did that a couple times, I think. And then Leanne bailed him out a couple times. Yeah, they made, what was it? What was the name of that place? It wasn't Taylor Meat Company. It was,
not Thorndale. I was thinking Thorndale, but it wasn't Thorndale because
no, no. I do like Thorndale Meat Market,
yeah.
though. It's a really cool little butcher shop. I can't remember.
I just remember bringing it. They brought it out, and it was like their huge receiving area. I remember it was a massive
Mhm.
place. I remember him having me like he'd stand off to the side, have me move it onto the pickup truck, and then we.
Of course he did.
I remember back one time. I'm like, I felt a pop that I've never felt in my back, and I don't think it's gone away since.
Yeah, no, crazy.
But one thing I
Well,
want to bring up about those years is this moment. because you guys were so kind to me, and I'm sure you took pity on this like strange kid from Los Angeles that what the hell is he doing here and with John. But there was a moment, I think it was after New Year's, we were at I think we were at the mom's house, at Trisha's house, and
Yeah,
we had partied that night, and then something happened where Leanne and John were fighting.
of
And
course.
there was something that was brought up. I think it was because John was having me hide whiskey bottles underneath my
Oh
bathroom
my,
cabinet.
oh
And
my God, I
he
forgot
was
about this.
he was hiding them, and then saying like later on, I think his wife thought that it was I forget Debbie thought that it was
Yeah,
mine,
Debbie.
thought it was mine, but it was his. So he'd go to the bathroom in Kevin's bathroom and then drink whatever. But so he it was they were fighting of something, and I was standing in the road, and you guys were on one side, and Debbie and John were on the other. And John's like, "Come on, Kevin, come on!" And you guys were like, "Come with me. You can stay with me." Like Leon's like, "Stay with me. You can just come, Kevin, stay with me."
Yes.
And I felt like that, like a divorce, like had my parents, and I felt like a child. Like I felt like what it would be like to be like, what parent do I go with? Like the right choice was to go with you guys, but also I had come out to help him. So I felt sort of like an allegiance. It was such a weird, I went back with John, obviously, but like I wish I'd gone with, it would interesting. Like that was like a moment in my life that was like a fork. Like I wonder what that would have been like if I said, okay, I'll come with you guys and we'll start up our own.
Well,
I don't know,
I
but
mean, all in all, he probably would have understood in the end, and then we would have just like really ignored all of it, and it would have gone back to normal because that's just
yeah,
how that
it was
family
just so
works. But
bizarre.
I know, but I honestly, I mean, John would be like, "Oh yeah, Kevin, he was in his closet all night talking on the phone." And I go, "Why do you think that is, John?" And he goes, "I don't know, that's just really weird. Do you think he's in there drinking?" I laugh so hard. I go, "No, it's because your bitch ass literally had your ear to the door trying to listen to what he was talking about because you are nosy as hell." I was like, and so he does have to like to have a little bit of privacy, like get in the furthest like part of the room
Yeah. Oh, that's so
because
funny
you
though.
have trapped him. Oh, I don't know how you did it. I
I don't
really
know.
don't.
Because it was weird being in that bedroom with all the kids' trophies and things, and then waking up at 3 in the morning, waking him up off the couch drunk, driving him to Austin, getting everything going. It was a very weird time, but I am so, I wanted to again just thank you guys for being so kind to me and let me, stay with you guys sometimes that while you guys went out of town to take care of your kids and
I mean, it was honestly, I think, good for both of us. At that point, you were
yeah.
like, please get me out of this house. And, I mean, I think, that family is very iconic. We all know this
Yeah.
in Texas, in Central Texas. I mean, you know they take a lot of pride in their family history, and I also take a lot of pride in their family history,
Yeah.
and that's why I work so hard, I mean during and after all of their passings to just make sure that this is the best possible. It's stressful at times, of course,
Oh
and
yeah.
especially working for this family in general. You know,
Yes, yes, we know.
but
Well,
I mean, Leanne is not far from John when it comes to stuff like that. That tough love is just all that they've
yeah.
ever known, and that's just what they carry on. And I mean,
Yeah.
her mom was the same way. I mean, she would Trish would call me her Leanne's ex-wife's name every once in a while when she was mad at me, which is fine. Like I just laugh. I've been in this family for 8 years at this
Uh,
point. Like, I mean, because Leanne and I were together for almost 13 years.
wow. That's
I
a
mean, we were
long,
together. Yeah, we were together for three
it's a long
years,
time.
and then we got married, and we were together. We were almost married for 10 years, and that's and I not only worked for her in barbecue, but in photo as well.
Yeah.
And so that was a big stepping stone for me because I don't know anything about photography,
Yeah.
but I knew she was extremely talented and, very dedicated and driven. And this is her dream. And she got to, travel to some really cool places and experience some really cool things and, meet some extremely famous and amazing
Oh
people.
yeah.
And so to be a part of that was incredible. So at that same time, we were building La Barbecue and then also traveling for her photography. And it was a lot, but we balanced it, and it was definitely something that, was was hard, but
Yeah.
very fulfilling at the time. But was it,
Yeah.
it was just like
That's kinetic
go,
and
go, go. Yeah.
yeah, chaos. Yeah, but I think that's something that she liked, that that needed. And I like there's times where I like it's hard for me even to slow down. I want to have a lot of stuff going on, but when you
Hmm.
do slow down, it feels so good and healthy healthy to not always. But like I'm going to put a link below to her. There was a piece Texas Monthly did after she passed on her
Hmm.
photography, and it was a bunch of quotes from people talking about maybe the first time they met Leanne or working with Leanne.
It was a
And
great article. It was
such a
great.
great article. And I
Yeah.
revisited last night just to look at it, and it gave you a chance too. I don't think people realize how good a photographer she was and how defined her style was. It's different than others. And she had so many covers of Texas Monthly. Like having a cover of Texas Monthly is a big deal. Like that's
She actually had the most covers out of any photographer that they've ever hired,
wow.
um, like to date when she passed. And I had a friend, Emily, that I grew up with, that worked that works for Texas Monthly, that pulled every single magazine and gave me each of the magazines with her covers on it, which I mean I have them already, but they're kind of just spread out all over in the house. But so to have them all together was really
Oh,
cool. I can't remember. I want to say if there's 12, but I think it's around that.
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That
But I
is
mean,
crazy.
that's countless articles, countless, editorial photos
Hmm.
and whatever else. Her last photo that was published was in Rolling Stone, which was really cool. And Rolling
Really?
Stone sent like the tear sheets and the magazine, which was really cool. And we of course subscribed, so I got it too. But it was really cool to have that. And it was like a full page of her last photo shoot that she ever did before she passed. And at the time that she shot it, and then the time that she passed was not too far. I think
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
less than a month. Yeah.
Wow. What was the photo
Yeah.
shoot?
It was for the banning of drag in Texas.
Mhm.
And she photographed one of RuPaul's drag girls
Oh,
for it. And
wow.
at a club in Houston. But that was one of my last videos I actually posted, because it was like I think 12:30, because we had been shooting for a while, and then she had a show next door at a different gay bar, and then they were like, I mean, pressing the CO2 like through the dance floor. It's like all these lights and for the shoot, and then they had to get rid of it because they can't hold it. And so at the end they played Life's, like Madonna, Life is a Mystery. And I have my phone up like this, and I'm like
Oh,
twirling on the dance floor, and she's behind me with that like CO2 like pumping. And then and she's like right behind me, and I posted that. And that was like the last I think video that I posted of me and her.
wow. That's actually poetic.
and
It really
I
is.
and I I laughed because we were just tired, and we looked tired because it'd just been a long day. And it was just but it was fun, and we were done after that. But we really wanted to have that like last kind of like moment, just with that, you
Yeah.
know cold air pressing on the dance floor, just me and her.
That's so cool. Yeah, that is. And you guys, that one thing that you guys got a chance to do too was travel a lot
Oh yeah.
and it was recipe testing, and it was also just
Hmm.
life test. Like you guys really did embrace life. And I think that's something if if you can take that away, that's such a great thing that you got a chance to do. That's really beautiful. You went to places that I'll be, oh my God, I can't believe they're here right now. It's really
Oh yeah, I mean, we got to travel the world. And honestly, it's I'm such like a like workhorse. You have to literally pry me from this place, to do something, out of Austin at this point. I haven't taken a vacation this year, but it's I'm working on it. But
It's
she was.
December, Allie.
I know. I still have a month.
Yeah, you just don't have time. That's just the beginning of December. So you plan.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But she was just like, "Hey, like I will never forget when she was like, we're going to Africa," and I was like, "Are you fucking serious right now?" I was like, "You didn't even ask me." She's like, "Oh no, like
Oh,
this is it. We're going on safari. We're going to these like, you know, four different places in Africa and blah, blah, blah." And she didn't even have her damn passport. So she had to go get her passport.
of
And
course.
then we had to get these vaccinations. And I was like, all right. So, it took me a second to be like, holy shit, we're going to Africa. And then, when we started getting our vaccinations and she got her passport in and then we left, we were gone for a month. But that's what she liked to do. She liked to go for literally a month and live in those cities or in those countries and really like immerse ourselves
Hmm.
into the culture, into the food, into like the seasoning, the spices, like, and actually get to know, that culture. And we did that in several different countries, which, I'm so very lucky to have done. I still hold on to that and really try to bring it into a lot of the things that I do still to this day. I really want to get back into it. After she passed away, it was really hard for me to travel, I think, because that was just a little bit of a shock in general. And, having her push me to do that is not something that I had on my own. So I've taken a little bit of a time off from it, but when I'm ready, I'm ready, and I'll
Hmm.
get back into it.
And you'll know,
So
and you'll know how to do it now. Like it's almost it's
for sure,
that's a way to really immerse yourself into and absorb the culture. Ideally that would be if you wanted to really figure out a place, you go live there for a month and
right?
you the people, yeah,
I
like
mean,
it's like going there for 4 days isn't gonna cut it.
no, 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 no. I mean, and we would go for a month and go to a few different places,
Yeah.
and not just like stay in one central area or one even like little city.
Uh-huh.
And which was great. And we would take, we took a boat trip from Bangkok to Ayutthaya, and it was a like 1,000-year-old rice boat, and it was. And let me just go ahead and tell you, this was not like it had like a private chef on it, and it was like two bedrooms without a staff, and it was like me and Leanne and two of our friends, and the chef made some fantastic meals, and we learned and we got to see all these crazy temples like on the water as we went to Ayutthaya. Also, that's where they have this incredible like they make knives, and so we went to this market and picked up these crazy knives. Had some of the best boat noodles literally out of a boat from this lady who has been coming here. And one of the monks from across the river said that she had been going there for 50 years and that they don't even allow that anymore. But she was pretty much, grandfathered in. And so she had, and I'm not kidding you, a fire on this wooden boat with this, where she would take like she had boiling water, and then she would like take like these little fish meatballs, and she put together this incredible bowl of noodles and broth, and there was like a chicken leg in there, and like these I don't even know, but I literally we just got one because we had just eaten it, and I literally took that bowl and I turned my back on everybody, and I was like, absolutely not. I was like, this is mine.
Oh my
There might have been
gosh.
a fist fight, but I'm just telling you. So
Wow.
things like that, you can't recreate.
Mm.
I did get some photos and a little bit of video of it, which I do still watch every once in a while because it was such a special moment. But it's just things like that I mean, I still hold, in like the good times,
Hmm.
and through barbecue in general, it's really kind of hard to find like some good times because it's
Yeah.
so stressful and such like a high energy, high work ethic type of situation, many hours. It's so hot. It's tiring. Like it's physical. It's like, it's literally, I mean, manual labor,
Hmm. Yeah.
no matter where you are in this building.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about like it's I could talk about this stuff forever, and I'm sure I hope that people find it as entertaining as I do. I really don't give a shit. And at this point, I don't give a shit. It's like this, but it's I think
I'm
they
like,
it's just nice to catch up. But and these stories are wonderful and beautiful, and but the pit like when you transitioned when you guys got it
mhm,
and got rid of John,
mhm.
John Lewis was on board because I remember John had called me and said, "Yeah, I hired they hired this." Intern or somebody that apprentice or something.
Absolutely not. John Miller hired John Lewis.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
And in fact, we thought that that was somewhat crazy because we're like, what are you doing? Like, this is like literally your cooking process, your recipes, John. Like, I don't think that you should stray from this because people know this about you and this is what they come here for. They don't come here for anybody else's barbecue but yours. And he hired John Lewis and he was like, oh, yeah. And John Lewis started to kind of change things, like change his rub. And I was pissed. I was absolutely pissed. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, why are you going to do this? And he was like, oh, just trying, just, just let him do it. Let him do it. Like, no justification at all. And then I think he wanted John Lewis to just kind of take the reins so he could just kind of sit back and he's probably tired and
Yeah.
whatever else. It just didn't give a shit anymore. Who knows?
And John had worked at
But
Franklin because I took a photo.
right.
I have a photo I found I took in Franklin during service and John's cutting. John
Yes.
Lewis.
I mean, he started Franklin barbecue with Aaron in the trailer.
Oh, I did. Okay, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, and I'm not I don't really know that story, so I'm not gonna tell
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because, there's I love how people tell the Miller story
Yes, of course.
and I still to this day I'm like, that's actually not true.
Yeah.
But,
I've heard a lot of stuff that isn't true, but I hold my tongue.
I know it drives me crazy. So I'm not gonna tell that story because I don't know it.
Yeah.
But I do know that he worked with Aaron. I know that he worked with Aaron in the trailer. And I know John Lewis wanted to start his own place. Okay, great. I mean, he's talented enough, he's driven enough and he experiments enough.
Yeah.
So he wanted to learn a different cooking process, and John Miller hired him to come help.
Gotcha.
Well, John Lewis wasn't learning anything from John Miller because John was like, yeah, just go ahead, do whatever you want. And then that's just kind of how that happened. Well, after Leanne bought the business, which, and I will say, I said no. I said, do not buy this from his investors. I said, I can guarantee you that they are in massive amounts of debt. You know, I don't think that this is a good investment for you. Well, I think it was like a slow Wednesday or something like that. And John's like, hey, I'm going to go have lunch with Leanne. I was like, okay, cool. I'll see you guys in a few hours. Well, that's when John took Leanne to the damn bank and they signed all these papers and Leanne bought J. Miller Barbecue.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't soon after that that it changed into La Barbecue because after that happened and they came back immediately and was like, well, Leanne's like, well, I just bought it. And I was like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, well, my eyes are open now. I'm like,
Yeah.
John, you got a different employee on your hands. I was like, because I don't work for you. I work for Leanne and I'm protecting her and this place now. So literally every single day I would go home, I would say, hey, this, and this, and this. And Leanne got so tired of hearing it. But I was like, if you don't change things, you literally will have to file bankruptcy and you will owe massive amounts of money. And you are not the person to ever want to owe anybody money. I know this about you.
Yeah.
So, and I will never forget it. It was Halloween night. And John called and he was like, of course, drunk. And he was like, hey, have a great Halloween. We're not going to open tomorrow. I said, are you fucking serious, John? I was like, no, we are absolutely opening tomorrow. I was like, we have literally brisket seasoned and ready to go. We have all this stuff, like, and like, we can't hold this meat like this. It's like there's, I mean, of course, more than that of a shelf life, but I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I'll cook it tomorrow. I had been cooking it for months anyway, so it didn't even really matter. And nobody even knows that. But, and so I was like,
Wow.
absolutely not. We are opening tomorrow. I will go in and I will cook them. And he was like, well, I won't be there, blah, blah, blah. And Leanne, she was just like, she had it. And, there was a lot of drama attached to that, a whole lot of different situations. And then she literally was like, well, long story short, she was like, well, then we can't work together anymore. This is my business. And she had to be harsh like that. And it was
Hmm.
unfortunate. And it was her brother, and they were close. You know that.
Yeah.
They were like best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, they
They
should have
fought
been
like
twins.
they fought like animals, but they loved each other hard.
I know. They were
It
seriously
was
best
weird.
friends. I know. And so, seriously, the next day, we went in and it had hit the press because, of course, John called, whoever the fuck he knows. I don't even remember, but it just like literally was like wildfire. And we did not open that day because people were out there literally screaming at us and like heckling us and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my
And we had
God.
a lot of, well, we had a lot of cleaning up to do. Like there was a lot of things that he had done that were not up to standard.
I can imagine.
And it was our time to get it correct and to start over. And it's sad, for him, but he recreates himself kind of like, Madonna or some shit.
Yeah, he called himself a
But
cockroach, so he called
yeah,
it's
I know, which is crazy. The Dark Prince of Barbecue
dark.
is what
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
that's yeah, that's what he died and people knew him as the Dark Prince of
Yeah,
Barbecue.
so crazy.
They're very proud of their family name, which, they should be. The history behind their family name and barbecue in general is huge. The fact that I got to learn how to cook barbecue from John is also huge
Yeah.
because he even said, I mean, so we all reconnected kind of later when we even had this building. John went into the hospital for a couple months and I managed all of his nurses and, you know, his treatment and all of that. Leanne was like, I'm out. I can't do this. And so I did it,
Wow.
which was fine. He didn't really have anybody else. And
Hmm.
I didn't feel obligated. I really know that he needed that at that point. And after that, he was in really, really bad health, but was trying to get better. But it was too late. It was a lot. And, he literally told me probably 2 weeks before he passed, because he didn't pass too long after his mom did. I think it was really hard on him for many, many reasons. Their mom was in really bad health for many, many years, and which is really sad. I don't think she ever got over, I don't think any of them got over the loss of their dad, over Bobby.
Hmm.
It was really tough for the entire family
Oh yeah,
when
you
he
could
when
tell.
he just suddenly passed. I mean, they talked about it and they cried constantly over, his death and how sudden it was and what an icon he was to them. And so, yeah, I just, he literally told me, he goes, Allie, nobody else has ever cooked my barbecue. I have never told anybody else how my process and what I do and anything like that other than you. He goes, you are our legacy. I go, John, don't ever fucking put that on me.
Wow.
In fact,
Yeah.
I have the text messages that he like literally, of course, one day he wanted to make sure that, I knew how important this was because he knew, that him and his sister, Leanne were just like, you know, they needed somebody to carry this on. And I had the dedication, I had the passion for it. And he was like, you're my legacy. And I said, you cursed me.
Just now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for
He
you
said, you
motherfucker.
you cursed me. I'll send you that screenshot. I still have it. And then he sent me
Uh,
this like, and
uh,
it's like, those like bit emojis, and it's like him as a witch, and he's like,
He loved it. See, that's the thing. He had this
Mm.
underlying sweetness to his demonic, like that's what he had. Like there was some kind of magic, and that's why people
He's
deified him.
charismatic,
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
charismatic and funny, and that's why he convinced me to leave California to go work
Of
with him.
course.
Like,
I'm
there's
like, awesome.
yeah, good for you. Okay,
This
so that's
guy's a
good to
shit
know.
show, but as
But
long
now
as I
you,
don't get too close and well, that didn't happen,
uh,
but
wow,
yeah,
that's
but
but
yeah.
so as after let's get to give some people some history of
Okay.
barbecue. Okay, so
Okay.
John Lewis when because I know that when I was writing down people because watched some videos last night for fun and I saw Johnny from Goldie's.
Yes.
I know Esau worked, right?
Yes.
I know Dylan worked with you guys, right?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
so I know there's other people probably that I'm not
Oh
thinking of.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are so many people that have come and and cooked and or worked with us and gone and done their own thing. Some of them are successful, some of them are not. And the people who really have dedication to it, and but it's not just necessarily on us. Like Johnny, I saw at the Michelin
Oh
ceremony,
yeah, yeah, I remember you said.
and I saw Nupon, who also worked with us, who's also part of
Oh,
Goldie's, and
hmm.
then Jalen as well. And then Dylan. Dylan's been working on a ranch for the last
Yeah, I
so
know.
many years,
That while. I
and
love,
he's having a good time.
I
He
love it.
looks
No, he looks
happy.
happy,
Like,
so happy.
yeah, he's. I'm happy for him. So it's like Johnny, Jalen, Nupon, and Lane, and they all have Goldies, and they're the nicest guys. Like
So
they
nice.
really have passion and dedication, and I'm happy that they have built what they have, and it's really kind of a testament to just hard work in general. But I mean, they also worked for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny worked with us for a while with Dylan, and then also Saul started with us when we still had John Lewis actually. And Saul was just like a backyard cook, and he had like a an Instagram that would show his like backyard barbecue or whatever. And John Lewis hired him, and he's a nice guy, I mean, really dedicated into the craft, and things working in the barbecue industry in general is high stress, and
Yeah.
sometimes when you're ready to move on, you're ready to move on, and he's made a success out of it, which is great.
Yeah.
Also, we have the Reese brothers that from Reese Brothers Barbecue in San Antonio.
Both of
They
them.
didn't cook. They didn't cook for us so much, but they did the work in the trailer. Nice guys.
Elliot and yeah, Nick
Yeah,
and yeah.
Nick and Elliot, super sweet dudes.
They have a cool like from what I've seen, their place looks rad. They have a big, huge property. Have you been down to the
I haven't. I
yeah.
haven't.
Looks neat. Looks
I
cool.
haven't talked to them in a long time. Who else? Chris McGee also worked with us when
Oh,
we
from
were on Sixth and Waller, and he has that the briskets trailer. He got
Bib, right? Is it
a bib, yeah, in the Michelin. He's actually sat next to me. So I walked in to the Michelin ceremony and I was like, oh my God, this is bigger than I thought it would be. I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. I'm in over my head. Like, I don't even know, blah, blah, blah. And I saw Chris and I was like, oh my God, thank God. And I was like, come sit next to me.
I've heard just such great things. He's such a nice guy. Did he work for South Switch too? Or did
He
he
did. Yeah, he did.
or the Switch?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
he worked for that company. Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's
He's,
nice that he was there.
yes, and I was grateful. Well, it's funny because when he so he went up and got his bib or whatever, and I'm still sitting there, and he comes and he like pats my leg, and he goes, "Allie, I hope you're ready for your star." I go, "Shut the fuck up, Chris." And, I thought I'd get a mention or a bib or something, something. But I didn't expect anything at all. And I was so happy for him, and then for everybody else who had gotten everything that they had. But then I was like, my God, I'd had this last year I'd working so hard, and just all of the things that I've done to help this business, and just the grief and the loss and the,
Yeah, so much.
the cleanup that I've had to do. And I'm just sitting there, and he literally was like, no, he was like, you and Evan, y'all are getting a star. He's like, I know it. And he worked for Evan as well.
Oh yeah.
He worked with that. Yeah. And so he was like, he goes, which is great for me. And I was like, what's great for you is what you got. I was like, this is, I mean,
Huge.
you have worked for that. And, but I'm just sitting there, and then they go through and they're like, and we've got one more. And they handed out stars, and they handed out corkscrew, and then they handed out Evans. And then they called me, and I was like, oh my God, I shed my jacket at my seat. And I literally went like this. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, holy shit.
How did that
I literally,
feel? How did that must
I think I just blacked out for a second. I just literally didn't even know. I didn't know how to feel. I still don't know how to feel about it. Complete honor. The fact that, four barbecue places in Texas,
crazy.
it's got a Michelin star is incredible. But, it also is a true testament to Texas cuisine, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm part of that is, I feel like, historic on its own, just for barbecue in general, but not making it about, women and whatever else, because, I really feel like I like to be even on all playing
Mm-hmm.
fields, men, women, whatever, and any kind of barbecue. But, being a female pitmaster and going through the history and learning from the family that I did, I feel like it's been a really long road, and to get a Michelin star is fucking crazy.
I was so proud when I heard, and it made me think, gosh, like there must be a lot of emotions going through you because there's so many, because Leanne's not there, and because of what you've had to deal with since she passed, and to keep the restaurant at those standards and above, and like it has to be consistent, like, and running a restaurant and running a barbecue joint, it's so hard, and you're doing it yourself, and that must
Mm-hmm.
have been what an amazing moment. And I didn't know if they had, and you've told me now, I didn't realize I didn't know if they had told you guys ahead of time. So this was all a surprise.
Right.
You knew that you would be
Well,
mentioned for some sort, but
no, I didn't
oh,
know anything, honestly. I mean, the rumor was that they were in town, and, they were looking at restaurants in Austin and in Texas in general. But then, the rumor mill, goes around. They're like, oh, they're in Austin. And my GM, Ben, he was on the block, and I go, well, the rumor mill is that, the Michelin guide is in Austin this week or whatever. We don't even know. And I was like, it'd be really nice to be recognized. I was like, but of course I don't ever, I mean, there's no way. And I go, could you imagine us getting a star? And we laughed because we're like, we have butcher paper plates, and like plastic forks and whatever else. And which has nothing to do with like the standard of it all.
mhm.
But, I mean, I've been very lucky to travel the world and have Michelin star restaurants, that have more than one stars. And it's like some crazy, amazing, fancy food,
Yeah.
and whatever else. And
The
so,
wait staff is orchestrated, everything. Yeah, that's like a
I
whole.
mean, it's just, and so we were just like, yeah, 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 like blah, blah, blah. So I get an email, and they want us to submit some photos. So, Meg, who does my social media, is also a fantastic photographer. I'm just lucky to have that hand in hand. But she comes in, and we do some fresh photos, and we kind of get fun with it or whatever. And we submit it. And then a few weeks later, I get an email. This is all via email, and invited to the ceremony. Well, what's crazy is that month I had Food and Wine, which I did the fire pits for, which I didn't know what I was walking into, but I had a fantastic time. And then I had a chef series out at Horseshoe Bay, that was also incredibly fun. And it was 2 days. I was out there for 3 days. It was, I mean, I also felt like I was in over my head, but that staff and all of it was crazy. So, I mean, I had such a busy, like, back to back to back week. And then I literally was home Sunday, and then I drove to Houston on Monday. So I was tired, I mean, I was just
Yeah.
feel like I was running crazy. And then I didn't know what to expect. It was like a red carpet event. And I mean, I was just, I, of course, I took my publicist Lorena with me because, she's also my emotional support human. And, um,
That's
and
good to have.
so, yeah, and, she also builds me up and lets me know what to expect. And she has extreme confidence in me, which is very nice, but also scary at the same time.
I get that.
So, I mean, so when we get there, I knew a lot of the people there, just from chefs in Austin and in Texas in general. And so it was really nice to see people that I haven't seen in a while or people that I, see all the time. And, we sat for the ceremony and, it was just, I feel like it went by so quickly, but I don't know how long it actually was because it was just kind of like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And then at the very end, I mean, I don't think I will ever forget that moment when it was like it had my name up there and La Barbecue with one of those photos that we shot. And I literally I shed my jacket at my seat and I walked up there and I saw my friend Edgar, who has Nixta, and
Oh,
he had gotten like a best young chef. And I pointed to him because I was like, that's because I could hear him over everyone in there. And I was like, I pointed to him and I walked up that stage and they put that jacket on me. And I was like, I told that lady putting the jacket on me, I was like, I think I'm about to pass out. She goes, really? I go, no, but this is absolutely unbelievable. But it's also, I know all the people from the Hestia group. And so I saw Amanda Turner up there. And I
oh,
mean, she's been she's a fantastic chef in town. And she is head of Ola May, and then she was also a top chef this last season.
oh.
And she looked at me and she hugged me and she was like, congratulations, and I was like trying not to cry. And she was just like, this is so good and blah, blah, blah. And she said, had some incredible words to say to me, which meant a lot. And
Oh,
then after all of that, they called my name up to the and they handed me a mic and they called Evan and John and Will and and they were just like were like, how does this feel, pretty much. And I was like, and I don't even remember what I said, but I just remember saying, we've worked so hard. And and I remember also saying, I'm trying not to cry. And she was like, it's okay, you can cry. And I was like, no, no, I can't. But after that, it was just kind of like, wow, this is to stand up here with all these incredible chefs. I was also looking at all of the chefs and everybody on that stage, and I was like, everybody on this stage, all of these chefs work in their restaurants. They are hands on work in their restaurants, and there's something to say to that.
yes.
And I literally just took a second and was like, this is worth it. All of this hard work, all of these hours, all of this, everything that has been for the last 13 years has come to this. And I have not let down. I am still in here every day. I mean, if I'm not here, that means like somebody forced me to go on vacation these days, or I have something else to do outside of the building that also has to do with the restaurant, which is fine because
Yeah.
I take great pride in this place. I mean, it's been such a passion of mine, and now I'm just able to get creative on my own, which I love. I mean, I brought in these smash burgers, and everyone's got a fucking smash burger.
When they're really done well, they are so good.
So, so we had all this trimming, like all this brisket trim, and we put it in our sausage, we put it in our chili. Then we would still have some left over, and I was like, I'm a burger fanatic.
Same.
Like I love a burger, and I have my favorite ones, and I was like, well, let's just do a burger. So I started doing burgers as family meal for my crew and everything. And I was like, this can get better. This can get better. And then my GM, Ben, who's also a chef, he did a burger night a few years ago and they were so good. and we hadn't done them since. And so I did a smash burger, and I was like, guys, I think these are pretty good. And they're like, these are fucking great. So I created a grind for them and like a seasoning for them, and then I rolled them out one day, and they went like that. Well,
Really?
then I entered them in a few contests, and I have won every single one that I've put them in.
Really?
Yes,
That's
I've
awesome.
tri-
I'm not saying that in surprise, but that's awesome.
no, it surprised me. Yeah, so it's just things like that that I can kind of get creative on, which is not smoked meats, but and just like things that are created from the meats that we have in house, and also less waste and stuff
Well, you're
like that.
taking this further. Like
Right.
it's so that's so you have every right, and it's also it's important, integral within you to, be creative and do things beyond what was before. So,
Right.
and it's what's interesting is when I was going through your menu, and people can look online, they can see your menu. We could talk in depth for an hour about your menu, but um, the coleslaw wasn't that started when I was there. That was because she added, and John just didn't want that. Okay,
Of course. So the slaw is controversial, right? And I won't take it off the menu because I don't want to be haunted. But you either love it or you hate it. And I don't know if there's a middle ground on it,
that's so
but
funny.
it is spicy.
Yeah,
Leanne wanted like a motherfuck ton of black pepper and everything, of course, as John did as well. That's just their family.
yeah.
So, we had a joke about, measuring. We measure by hand, and it was like 5 handies of pepper, and then some other seasonings, and then chipotle. And the chipotle slaw is really good. Ben makes it every morning. It's really good. It's good, and it pairs well with a lot of our meats. But it's very surprising, I
hmm
think,
And
because
it's
you're
something that,
looking for that sweet kind of tangy slaw.
yeah.
Well, that's not what we have.
But it started in the trailer back in the day. It's just
Oh
because
yeah,
Leanne, and that was Leanne's first like opportunity to kind of add her spin on
right,
things. And
right.
that's I was just thinking about that the other day too. Building up to this, I started to kind of peel back some of the memories that I had been hiding in my head because I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to remember. And then when I saw that on your menu and then saw that, I think Bon Appetit or somebody came and talked to you, and I
Mm-hmm.
think, and so you got a chance to really, and I can put a link to some of those below where you could show the menu off. But I want to know, do you do the hot dog thing, the wiener, is that something you still do, or was that
Oh yeah, we still do
what
it.
is that?
I think I'm going to bring it back like this month. We hand make these hot dogs. So there is a fairly tedious process to making hot dogs. As people who know hot dogs, like it has to be cold, like it has to be ground a certain amount of times, like it can't have too much water in it. It has to it's like all these rules to hot dogs to make them what they are. When Leanne and I went to Tokyo, we've been twice. Japanese hot dog is fantastic.
Yes. I
It's
would,
like a new mommy dog. It's like, I mean, whatever the Japanese do in their food is 100% right on at all times.
yes.
So we kind of got into hot dogs there for a little bit. We went to Chile, got one of their street dogs. And then we've been to Iceland. We got one of their, because, they're oddly
Yeah.
famous for their hot dogs.
Huh?
And so we started eating hot dogs. And
It's so great.
I know. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, we got kind of obsessed with hot dogs there for a little bit and came back. And I think we did 6 runs of this hot dog. And some of them were really sad looking. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not even eating that. It looks weird, you know. But all in all, we came down to like a specific grind. It's like a boatload of seasoning, but they are so good. And so she turned them red because of the Taylor meat wieners in at the Taylor Meat Company, which as a kid they would go in and her parents would get, they would order like all of these pork chops and all of this meat. And they would literally, cut all of this, we need more butcher shops, I feel.
I agree.
But and then they would literally hand them this cold Taylor meat wiener hot dog that was red on the outside. You bit into it, and it's like regular hot dog color. I think they used to sell them at some HEBs. She wanted that for nostalgia. but also kind of like a Japanese umami hot dog. And that's what we came up with. And then we started doing pop-ups in 2020 at our friends' bars because back in 2020, a bar couldn't open unless they had food. And so we would go and do hot dog pop-ups with a flat top and some chili and cheese and onions
Oh,
and
cool.
whatever else. And we had this like sauce that we came up with. And I mean, they kind of took off, but things get crazy and other events and whatever else. And also, I don't like to torture Miguel in making these unless we're going to actually sell them,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of work, a lot of seasoning that goes into it. So this
So
is
would this
just
be like a
me
separate
being an
pop-up thing?
excuse.
Would you do like a,
No, no. We did that for a little bit, like after hours, but really, we all worked so many hours to begin with that having an after hour situation was just too many hours on all of us.
yeah.
So I do run them during service when
Oh,
I have them,
nice.
which makes sense.
So if someone's following your social media, you'll post that you're having it, or if they're lucky enough to show up and they can get it, right? Is that,
So many people have asked me about these damn hot dogs, and they are good, I will say. Uh, I need to bring
well,
them
they're on
back.
your
I
website, so that's your fault.
I know.
So it's not everyone's fault, Allie. It's
I know it's public knowledge. I'm aware, Kevin.
wait, so did am I going crazy? Did Megan and Harry show up at your place once?
They sure did. They came
How
in.
was
It
that?
was
That's
it was actually it was actually National Women's Day that they came in, and she was in for some kind of panel with I think Jane Fonda. No, no, I don't know. I can't remember.
yeah.
But I got an email a few weeks before that, and actually, I was sitting at this table answering emails, and Ben was sitting over here with me, and the work phone was here, and it was like Beverly Hills came across like the phone number, and we're like, oh, fancy or whatever. I was like, I'm gonna answer it, and so I did, and she's like, I work with this family. They really want to come in. I really can't give you any details. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of used to that. Like,
Yeah.
do you have an email? I was like, of course. And so it ended up being Megan and Harry, and I couldn't tell anybody, like not a soul. And I was like, oh my god. I was like,
It's
this is
so
big.
crazy.
So I went back in the back and told Francisco, Francisco was our first hire in 2012. He was our first cook. Like, I mean, now I have Francisco, his wife, two of his nephews, and his niece
Really?
that that work here. Oh yeah,
Oh, that's so
Frank,
cool.
Frankie, dude, he's not going anywhere. If he does, I'll hunt him down. But he
You'll
works
ni
in the
you'll
morning.
nicely hunt them down, the alley version.
Right, right, right. But I told him, I was like, hey, there's somebody very famous coming in 2 days. I gave him 2 days notice. I was like, I would really like for you to come back up here and meet them. And he was like, well, that's weird. Like I don't care. I'm like, I know you don't care. I was like, but it's Prince Harry. And he goes, who? He's like this machismo Mexican man
I
and
love
he's got 5 boys. He's just like, who? I was like, Prince Harry. He goes, Princess Diana's son. I go, that's how you know him? And I was like, yes, him and his
uh,
wife, Meghan
that's
Markle, are
hilarious.
coming in. So he came back up and they were so nice. They pulled right up in front of the damn restaurant and they both gave me like 2 arm hugs, like we'd been friends forever. They spent about 45 minutes here taking photos and like they wanted a tour and
Did they eat?
we
Did they
just
eat?
oh yeah, well they pre-ordered before that because they were supposed to only be here for 20 minutes and then
Oh,
get out of here. And
they took
but
food to
they
go.
right.
Okay. Interesting. No, that's wild.
But I had somewhere else to be, so but they came with their like, security and whatever else. Super, super nice, very
That's
down to
so
earth.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
they seem nice. You guys still have the pit from the trailer days?
Oh yeah. We still have it. I
Who
cooked
built
on it
who
on Saturday.
who built that pit? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I've
I would
never
have to
known.
ask Russ, I think.
So you have that pit, then you have a couple more. I think you picked, obviously you needed more
We
Smiths.
so we have the original pit, and then we have the first actually Austin Smokeworks pit that John Lewis built in his front yard. I actually got to do some welds on it,
Oh, cool.
which was fairly interesting. And then we have one after that. It's also enclosed. And then we have their first like road pit that's literally on wheels and it's 1,000 gallon. And then we have one of their 500,
Oh,
which is actually my favorite one.
oh, okay. So I do. So you have a bunch of pits. I didn't really. I need to when I get a chance to stop by. I will
Yeah,
stop by. Gosh,
for
this
sure.
is so. I'm so happy for you, and I appreciate you wanting to take the time. And I've been meaning to talk to you forever. Like this has been, you know, this has been really
Well,
important for me to talk to you. Like just I
yeah.
miss you.
Well, I miss you too. I talked about it in therapy on Monday before I did this.
So did I. So did I. So did I. And I was like, and I was just, and it was just something that, it's been a bit, yeah, we shared a moment in time that was, very special and different and not something that no one else
So crazy.
shared. And
What
then,
a wild time. High stress,
yeah,
high energy. Like, what a shit show.
yeah. But at the end of the day, when we'd sit on pick the tables and drink and talk, like it was just, there's something about that. And then I understood about that. Then when I worked at a different restaurant, I understood the kind of the restaurant mentality and how at the end of the day, it's just like everything is built up throughout and then it's
You just
done.
exhale.
And then it's the next day.
Right.
But it's just, yeah, it's
Right. Bye.